behind the scenes, the Royal Report.
Good evening, welcome to the Royal Report. I'm Caroline DeRusso, and here's what we've got coming up on the show tonight. Princess Katherine has re-emerged with her first official photograph released since her surgery. There's a lot to unpack and we'll get to that in just a second. Now, what happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas. Well, for Prince Harry at least, Russell Myers joins us from London to explain who's threatening to release some rather spicy photographs. And Princess Katherine's uncle has made an appearance on Celebrity Big Brother. We'll tell you what he's had to say about the royal family. But first tonight, some breaking news direct from the palace. And the royal family has released a photograph of Princess Katherine, the first since her abdominal surgery. It was taken in Windsor earlier this week by the Prince of Wales. The photo of Kate, pictured with her children, was released for Mother's Day. Now, along with the cute snap uploaded to Instagram, she wrote, "Thank you for your kind wishes and continued support over the last 2 months. Wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day. Signed off, C." Now, the post comes after social media was flooded with conspiracy theories about her whereabouts as rumours of her health began to swirl. And then last week, unfounded online rumours were further fuelled when Prince William unexpectedly pulled out of a memorial service where he was expected to give a reading. Now, joining me now to discuss this is News Corp columnist Louise Roberts and Gemma Tognini from GT Communications. Starting off with the breaking news regarding Princess Katherine, it's Mother's Day today in the UK, and this photo has just been released by the palace. It's the first since her surgery, Louise. It's a great photo of her and her kids. A good move, you would say, from the palace to quell some of that speculation.
Absolutely, Caro. Very smart of Catherine William to start controlling the narrative here. We've only seen one photograph of her previous to this, a perhaps shot of her in the car with her mother near Windsor. So to actually produce a photograph taken by William, of course, himself with their 3 kids on Mother's Day is absolutely picture perfect, literally, because she looks healthy, she looks very relaxed and happy. Obviously, the kids are delighted to be sitting with her. She's, it's a good picture because she's sitting down, which would suggest that obviously there's been some recovery still ongoing here. She's got her skinny jeans on and her Chloe boots and a nice sort of warm jacket. She's not overly made up. She looks very natural and at home. But interestingly, I think there's going to be a lot of analysis as to why she's not wearing her wedding band or her engagement ring. Maybe she doesn't wear them when she's around home, who knows? But I think a lot of commentators will pick up on that in the next few hours or so. But to actually see a picture of her looking well, I think is amazing, because there's been lots of conspiracy theories, as she's saying, for her to have such a lovely natural message thanking people for their best wishes in the last 2 months, and also wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day, which of course it is Mother's Day in the UK, as you say. So again, very clever of them to actually put this out today.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And look, we know the royal family traditionally, they're quite private about health matters, but the queries around Kate's health, look, they continue and they just won't go away. Gemma, what's the latest out of the palace more broadly? And do you think they could have done more to allay those concerns earlier about the princess's health?
No, I don't think they could have done, and I don't think that they should have done anything else. I think she's the queen in waiting for all intents and purposes, but she still is entitled to agency over her body. She's entitled to agency over what people know about her medical conditions. And obviously this was a personal matter, and it was a personal matter because she has declined to share it with the rest of the world, and more power to her. I don't think the palace could have done it. I mean, they could have done other things. I don't think they should have. I think they're playing it perfectly if their desire is to allow her, as I said, to continue to hold that agency over her own body. Who knows what about the surgery that she had. I think this is perfectly normal, and people will speculate. Even if she came out and said, I had, surgery to remove X or surgery to deal with Y, there would still be speculation. There would still be tabloid garbage, because that is the nature of tabloid coverage. All of the conspiracy theories that you mentioned at the top of the show, Caro, they would not have gone away at all.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair enough. And it's almost like every piece of information you give, instead of it answering questions, probably ends up leading to more questions. Now, Louise, Totally. So, Louise, we understand Princess Catherine will continue to rest. William is helping out with the family, which is totally understandable. Yeah. How do you see Catherine's return to official duties unfolding?
I think they have to play this very carefully. Obviously, stage one is the photograph we've seen today. I think if they were to launch Kate back into a more sort of high-profile event, that would probably be a wise move, because obviously with her health considerations being taken, top of the table there, I think there's been suggestions that she may come to the Trooping of the Colour, which is on June 8th, although that was quickly wound back saying the palace hadn't actually approved that or said that she would be there. But I would think they would look to maximise the opportunity when Kate does appear back in public. I mean, there seems little point to sort of ease her in slowly. We know that she's on the mend. We know she's looking well and happy at home with the kids. So I think that it would be quite a significant event. And really, the Trooping the Colour is one of the premier calendar events for the royal family. So let's hope she's well enough to make that.
Absolutely, and that's one we all look forward to. Now, Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, the youngest child of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, well, he turned 60 today. Now, these photos were also released by the palace today to mark the occasion. And what I think is really noticeable about Prince Edward is, despite his profile, he has mostly managed to steer clear of controversy. He's served the family, he's stayed happily married, he's raised a couple of great kids, and his wife, Princess Sophie, she had this tribute for him this week.
My husband never seeks compliments for himself, so when acknowledgement has come his way, it has always been a total surprise to him, which is why I am grateful for this chance to, for once, be able to publicly celebrate and compliment him. And I am so proud of the man he is. He is the best of fathers, the most loving of husbands, and is still my best friend. So here's to you, my darling Edward. And may I, along with all of your family and so many friends and so many others, wish you the happiest of birthdays.
Now, the Prince was understandably quite emotional with that tribute, and Edward has always been less public, a bit more stable, less glitz, less glam, but also less train wrecks. Louise, your brief thoughts on the part that Edward plays in the royal family?
Oh, significant part. I think he's very much in the Princess Anne mould, and the fact that he sort of gets on with it. And I thought it was lovely that Sophie described him in actually the highest of gold standard terms as an iceberg, and not to sort of suggest that he was some sort of crisis about to happen, but more that what you see on the top with Edward is just the very tip of the good work and the stability and the love and the care and this a general sort of good-naturedness that he displays in the background, which the general public don't really see, and probably a lot of the royal family themselves don't see. He's been in sort of a kind of a situation where he's been overshadowed by his older siblings his entire life, in a way. I mean, the controversies of Andrew and even King Charles in the early days with Camilla. But I think that he sort of had his own path, and he's got a very happy marriage and 2 beautiful kids, and he's got the respect of the royal family and the respect of the general public. So I think Sophie's words were absolutely spot on.
And Gemma, just quickly on that, we know the royal family is different from any other family, but the fact that he does have those great points of connectivity as far as his own marriage and family goes, that there is definitely something that I think, allows the general public to have that moment of connection with the royal family.
He's just desperately normal. And isn't it refreshing to have someone desperately normal and, as you said, scandal-free? And it was well reported before her passing that the Queen had a beautiful connection with Sophie, that she loved the fact that she just got on with it. She worked her backside off and was just, no nonsense. I look at them and think, yeah, they're just freakishly normal, if you can use that description. Nothing to see, scandal-free, just getting on with it. I mean, his younger days, Prince Edward, I'm old enough to remember Prince Edward when he tried to established his own drama company and his own production company, and they were sort of like varying levels of success-ish, if that makes sense. But he was out there having a crack, and he did it quietly, and he did it without being, involved in any kind of scandal. And you sort of felt a little bit sorry for him because he was kind of like the geeky youngest kid. And then he met Sophie, and they were kind of geeky and cute together. And now they've just got this, like I said, this vanilla family that most people would be able to relate to, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. Now, Louise, Harry's US visa application is back in the news again. A couple of weeks ago, even Donald Trump had something to say about it. And in a new development, it looks like those documents will be made public. What's transpired since?
Well, this is the visa issue that will not go away for Harry, mainly born out of the fact of the boasts that he made in his own autobiography about taking drugs. Of course, that's a big no-no if you're trying to get, to be settled as with a visa or whatever sort of legal situation you'd think of in the UK. So, and a lobby group in the US, a lobby group in the UK are really have got the bit between their teeth. They want this paperwork out there. They want to know whether Harry has said yes or no to drug taking either now or in the past as well. And what's happened this week is a US judge has sort of thrown out an argument from the American government that this would invade Harry's privacy if this paperwork were to be made public. The judge has said, well, that doesn't actually hold water, so please release it. So whether this does happen, who knows? I get the feeling there's a lot of back-channeling going on here between the UK and US governments to sort of protect Harry, and who knows what he wrote on the form. I will add, though, that even if you do sort of claim to take drugs in your autobiography, there's no proof, of course, of this, and also you can get a waiver. There are ways around this, particularly if you're related to the King. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens, and no doubt that's not the last of it. Now, we have flagged that Princess Katherine's uncle Gary would be making an appearance on Celebrity Big Brother. He's been pretty chatty already. Gemma, is it possible to risk manage this sort of situation? What's he had to say?
I love that he's going on Big Brother. I really do. I just think he's like, we talk about relatability for the royal family. Everyone has that family member who does things that you just shake your head and go, please don't do that. And they do them anyway. Princess Katherine has Uncle Gary, and Uncle Gary's going on Celebrity Big Brother. I think that is just fabulous, personally. Can you risk manage it apart from having, a conversation? I'm not sure if he's her paternal or maternal uncle, but one of the parents sitting down and going, Gary, this is just not on. Just don't be doing this. This is a really bad move. Or Kate herself saying, why are you doing this? That sort of conversation. But other than that, it's just again another point of a relation that people can, understand. Like, everybody's got a family member. Particularly those of us who are from Italian families, we all know that you can have a rogue family member doing things that you just can't control. And the key is to respond with dignity, grace, and, if required, silence.
And I think they did have a chat with him beforehand. And Gemma, somehow I don't think it all went quite as planned. Now, Louise Roberts and Gemma Tonini, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, coming up, Prince Harry's Vegas trip has been exposed, and is Meghan attempting to relaunch in the UK? Well, Russell Myers has all of that from us next, right from London. Welcome back to the show. Joining us now is Royal Editor for the Daily Mirror, Russell Myers. Russell, a pleasure as always, mate. And now a blast from the past has come back to haunt Prince Harry. I thought what happened in Vegas was meant to stay in Vegas.
Well, good evening, Caro. Well, I mean, Harry must have been absolutely hoping and praying it was, because it's a pretty of an awful set of circumstances. The woman that he was engaged with in that infamous evening in 2012, where we saw Prince Harry in the buff playing naked billiards, is coming back to haunt him. And she is saying now that she has some pictures that she would like to sell, possibly on the OnlyFans site. And she's pretty much saying that she was aggrieved that she didn't didn't get a mention in his memoir Spare. I mean, everybody else did within the royal family, but unfortunately, Miss Royale, as she is aptly named, did not. So whether she will earn a couple of $1 million, as she said she wanted to, or not, remains to be seen. But OnlyFans, for their part, have said that she would need consent to pass any of these images off on their website, which I can't imagine Harry giving. But it's an interesting tale anyway, and I'm sure one Harry didn't like explaining over the breakfast table when the papers dropped.
No, probably not. And it does make that relaunch and reset all that little more difficult. But, news this week as well that Meghan is looking for PR experts to help relaunch her in the UK. How's that taking shape?
Well, it's interesting. This would be their sort of first member of staff in the UK for quite some time. Most of their staff did shift over to Archwell, working in the States. They do need a bit of PR mastery in the UK and abroad. It hasn't gone too well for them over the sort of global scale. You had the Meghan's Spotify deal pumped, and then we had the Netflix deal on shaky ground. Whether they're going to be producing any more deals for the Spotify giants and Netflix remains to be seen. However, very interesting that Meghan thinks that she needs a sort of PR rebrand, because we did see her at South by Southwest talking on International Women's Day last week. There was Katie Couric, Brooke Shields, a part of the panel as well. Repeating the sort of Procter & Gamble speech that she'd given over many, many years ago about changing the sort of landscape in the advertising world. I think we've all heard that very, very many times. But what does Meghan stand for? I think that this is quite an interesting point, that she is trying to recreate herself as a feminist. We saw in their new website that they're trying to rebrand themselves. No doubt her new bio was written by herself, as was the South by Southwest bio as well. So interesting times for Meghan, I think. I'm not too sure whether we're going to see her on UK shores anytime soon, though.
But some good news for the Sussexes and for Harry in particular, and in relation to the 2027 Invictus Games. What's been announced there this week?
Well, this is exciting because, obviously Harry's Invictus Games, his baby, the jewel in his crown, as it were, has gone from strength to strength. And I've been lucky enough to go to a few of the big games events across the world. Last time I was in Sydney, we've been in London before, The Hague, and it is an absolutely incredible sort of meeting of sports competitors from around the world, and something that Harry should be very, very proud of. Now, London is bidding for the 2027 Games. That could obviously bring Harry back to the UK. He said before that he's got some meetings here, or he's passing through. That would be an opportunity to see his family. Now, obviously, we know that he had a very whistle-stop tour to see his father only a few weeks ago, who is suffering from cancer. And as the King recovers from that, there's absolutely no recovery for his relationship with his brother Prince William, unfortunately, because he didn't stop off to see him. There was no contact between the two. So could this be the green shoots of a new relationship with Harry and the rest of the family if he's got to come over here and have some meetings with the UK government and beyond? I think that Harry would probably welcome that.
I think that would be welcomed across the board, to be perfectly honest. But on to Princess Catherine, and her health continues to make headlines. It continues to be the subject of much speculation. Now, your masthead, The Mirror, writes that the palace has appealed for calm. So how bad did it get, and what's the latest from the firm?
Well, certainly it's been pretty shocking. I mean, if you look at the sort of rumour mill that has exploded over the last few weeks on social media, it's been pretty distasteful, I think, is the best way to put it. And Kensington Palace have become pretty exasperated with the whole situation. I think, to their point, they had been very, very consistent in what they said on January 16th, when Kate went into hospital. They said she would remain there for 2 weeks, then she would come out and she would recover at home and not be seen really and back onto royal duties until after Easter, which puts us into April. Now, there's been a sort of an explosion of these conspiracy theories as to where is Kate, why haven't we seen her? I mean, it's pretty simple in my view. She was recovering for an operation. It must have been a very serious operation. All that we knew was it was an abdominal surgery that was planned, and that she would take a period of rest and recuperation at home. So, listen, I think that the palace had to come out and say, everybody needs to calm down a little bit. They hit out at the madness of social media. And I think that when you actually look at the evidence of what we have, Kate was seen with driving with her mother last week, but we haven't seen her very much because she's doing exactly that, resting and recuperating. So let's give her some time off and hopefully look forward to seeing her when she's back.
And as she should be. And as a corollary to that, Prince William, he's been carrying out official duties and he's been helping at home. He's really doing things differently at the moment to support across the family, isn't he?
Well, very much the modern man, isn't he? I mean, he's juggling all sorts at the moment. I mean, he's obviously took a period of time off. There's a lot of discussion around that as well. Would most partners be able to take such considerable time off if their spouse was in hospital as well? I mean, listen, they're not a normal family, are they? They're not existing as sort of the normal parameters of work. But what I will say is that he obviously had his father taking a leave of absence as well. The king is still recovering from cancer treatment. He's going to be out of the picture for quite some time. So is his wife, not only taking a period of leave and going to be put on the sidelines for many, many weeks. And then he's got a lot resting on his shoulders. So he's got 3 kids at home. You've got a job to do. We've had the big announcements with Shot this week and things that he's sort of been beavering away in the background. So, listen, I think that there will be a period of calm, as Kensington Palace have appealed for. And then, in the next few weeks, we should see a bit more normality in terms of his schedule as well.
And finally, just before we go, Prince Edward is turning 60, the youngest of the siblings and, frankly, in my view, the ballast. How is he being celebrated?
Well, he is. I mean, it makes us all feel a little bit older with Prince Edward being 60 because he's been sort of the baby in a pack for so long. And, it is his birthday. He's in a couple of interviews this weekend. He's talking about his rock, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, being by his side all these years, married in 1999, and they've been through quite a lot together. And I think that Edward taking on the the Duke of Edinburgh title as well has really been the making of him in recent years, because it's something that he can really put his teeth into. He's very, very passionate about the Duke of Edinburgh scheme. He spoke about his father being a people person, if you can believe it. He had a bit of a laugh and saying he wasn't altogether the sort of person who people recognise as being very warm with people, but he really did have an affinity with so many groups. He grew the Duke of Edinburgh organisation and programme to an international stage, which is exactly what Edward wants to carry on to do. And I think, he's 60 years old. A lot of the working royals are over the age of 70 now. So I think there's a long way for Prince Edward to go yet before he's going to get his retirement.
Russell Myers, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Karen.
One thing we can say with absolute confidence is that our friends at Tatler have a very keen eye. Now, the Princess Royal was out this week in Dubai wearing a dress which she has owned for almost 5 decades. Here is Princess Anne first wearing this dress on an official visit with the Queen and the President of Botswana all those years ago. It's good to see that she walks the talk when it comes to sustainability. And from all of us who love a vintage frock, we salute you. Now, just before we finish the show tonight, confirming the breaking news that the Palace has released the first photo of Princess Catherine since her abdominal surgery. It's an absolutely beautiful photo of her with her children for Mother's Day. And hopefully there are more to come shortly. And that's the show for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Up next is Newsnight. Good night, and we'll see you next week.